Good afternoon, and welcome to an episode of More Than Meets the Eye. I'm your host, Blind Prime, and for today, I'd like to talk to you today about Masters of the Universe, Panthor. Now, this is the 4-inch scale Panthor, and for the life of me, I can't remember the exact name of this line. But there were two Panthors released, actually three. So you have the 7-inch scale Panthor, and that's the one where your crazy big Revelations figures can ride on. And then you have your two 4-inch Panthors. I got the one that doesn't have the fuzzy on it. And then there's one that has the fuzzy on it. It's got like a fuzzy texture to it all over. It's pretty cool. I don't know why there's two different versions. Maybe the fuzzy one doesn't have as much articulation. I don't know. But there are two separate versions of it. I'm not sure if the fuzzy one's better, but the fuzzy one is fuzzy. So I recommend getting the fuzzy one based on its fuzziness alone. And yeah, I've just said fuzzy a lot in my sentences. Well, because it is. And it's like Fuzzy Wuzzy. Except, it's not a bear and it has hair. Except this one doesn't have hair. So it's more like Fuzzy Wuzzy than the Fuzzy Panther is like Fuzzy Wuzzy. So let's talk about this. I've got a G.I. Joe Classified series, B.A.T, riding on this guy. And even though it's made for the 4 to 5 inch line of the MotU, the Masters of the Universe classic stuff, it is actually, they're all bigger figures. And they all measure almost 6 inches tall. So Panthor is the appropriate size. He's a little small for what he is in the show, but for giant, for tiger that you can ride, he's actually really good. He has a nice 6-inch scale tiger. Let's take the bat off here and move his legs around so he can stand. Yeah, it's a really nice 6-inch scale tiger you got going on here. I mean, he is a bit bigger than normal tigers, so we'll consider him a 6-inch Siberian tiger. That's better. Yes, Siberian tiger. We've got stand up straight. You gonna fall? Huh? No. Oh, we can do that. He's got a posable jaw, so he can reach in and grab the bat's, gun arm. Oh, look at that. Oh, they're playing. Ah, yes. Him and the bat. They have a great relationship together as War Machine and War Tiger. Yeah, they play tug of war with the bat's arms. No, I just figured I'd give that little bit of story. So, let's set the bat off to the side. Well, actually, first, before we do, let's go ahead and use the bat to talk about the sizing on this guy. So, sizing-wise, the bat actually stands a bit taller than him. When you have we're going to measure it by the top of the head when the head is at its downward position. And that would put the top of the head just below the shoulder. Not completely past the deltoid on the arm of the robot here, but just halfway down it. And that's the height. Now, the height of the saddle is actually above the shoulder. It's it's almost at neck level, and this is what I'm talking about. Like, when you're riding, if you've ever ridden a horse before, and you walk up to the saddle's going to be about here on you, just below your neck, around your shoulder area, or between kind of your breast and your shoulder. It's going to be that area, about an 8-inch difference to 12-inch, foot difference. I'll say rough estimates here, because I haven't ridden many horses, but every horse I've ever ridden, that's been the height of it compared to me, and those have been the best horses to ride. Like, any bigger than that, and no, I just didn't want to ride those. I wanted to ride the one that was about this height to my shoulder when it came to the saddle, and I really like this. This is cool. This is a good 1/12 scale rideable tiger, and it's pretty neat. And also, if you have any old World of Warcraft night elves, you could totally throw them on top of this guy if you had any 1/12 scale night elves. But we'll just keep him up here riding along. So we'll talk about the posability of him now. He's got some really amazing articulation. People talk about the timber, and timber is a really cool wolf. Let me get timber. Timber. Where you at, timber? That's not a timber. That's not a timber. Oh, nuts! That's a timber, though. I knocked over Snake Eyes, but I got a timber. Okay, so here we go with Timber. Now, Timber's head allows him to look left and right, and he can kind of look up. You know, he can look up pretty good, but he can't really look down that great. He has to use his neck joints. So his neck allows him to look up a little further and look down a little further. And then we come to, Panthor here, and Panthor can look down pretty good, and he can look up pretty good, and then he can look over here amazingly well, and he can look over here amazingly well, and he can't spin his head around like, you can't do the exorcist thing and spin his head around 360 degrees because of how the joints work, but you can have him get a lot more posability than you can with Snake Eyes' wolf. And even better, I think his jaw may be able to do it. No, the wolf is just a little too thick. Even his neck is too thick. The wolf's hair is too thick for the tiger to get him around the neck. But he can totally grab him by his paw. Yeah. They can have a fight. That's the head sculpt, though. So move you away back. I'm going to set you off to the side again and talk about the articulation for the rest of the body here. So it's got some great shoulder articulation. You get movement of about, with the saddle on, I'd say that's a movement range of 115 degrees, and rough speaking. And he's got some bicep swivel, so 360 degrees at the bicep. Single jointed elbows for the front elbow. And those single jointed elbows can pull a 90 though, but they don't actually open all the way, so they only open to a 15 degrees. Sadly, the worst flaw in this figure, simply put, is the fact that there's no feet rockers. There's no sort of feet articulation at all. And that ruins the rest of the articulation for this figure. Since he's a four-legged critter, you gotta have the ability for the feet to move, like Timber here. Each one of Timber's feet are on a little bitty joint, and this will allow you to get, any type of pose you really want with Timber. You can change his feet so that they're all touching the ground for best ability. Not with this guy. This guy, you say we try to pose him in a pose. We'll move him like that. See, now all of his paws are sticking up, like he's got problems with his toes, and he stepped on some needles or something, and now he's walking around on the heels of his feet waiting for some mouse to take the needles out. It's not working. That is the biggest flaw with this guy. Other than that, we're going to move down to his back leg. His back leg does actually have a ratchet point. It only has one, but you can move it forward pretty far. And then there's the ratchet, and then it can move back. This one actually gets less range than the front legs in its movement. I'd say overall, what is that? That's definitely more than 90, but I can't tell you how much more. I'd give it 110 degrees. Maybe not. I'm pushing it, saying 115 degrees of movement there, but it's got a ratchet that really holds these back legs in place, and that's nice. The back legs also have a single jointed knee, and the other little cat kind of knee isn't articulated, sadly, so you can't get double knee action going down here in his back legs. And once again, his paws are not articulated, so it doesn't really matter how much articulation he's got. There's only a few poses you can actually put this guy in without him being all sorts of problems. So that is that with his feet and his stuff. We've got an articulated tail in the sense of it's on a ball joint and it spins around. That is the extent of which this tail is articulated. It is just a piece of plastic that goes down and spins just a bit, and it's got some hair texture. We're going to talk about the texturing in a second. The saddle here does come off. You can remove the saddle. It is just simply you unpin it from its little strap, and then you pull the strap through the loop, and then the saddle comes off. It is almost exactly like how you would put a regular saddle on a horse. It's got a big strap there, but there's more to it. And then you have him bare saddled, no saddle blanket. Poor critter. No articulation in the center. There's nothing. It's just big hollow plastic. the weight isn't that bad. They used a different type of plastic than what I normally see these days. So that's interesting. Uh, Other than that, we'll talk about the textures now, because that is all. I mean, he's got an opening jaw. He's got a moving head. Honestly, his head articulation is amazing for this character. I love this head articulation. So let's go from the head and go all the way down to the tail and talk about textures. So he's got some really nice teeth here. They are kind of sharp. He's got two big ones on the top. They didn't really mold in the rest of the top teeth though. They got the little teeth molded in that are between the two top fangs. But that's it. And then he's got a tongue in here that just kind of hangs out. It doesn't really do much, but that's all it does. And then he's got two fangs on the front of his mouth, and then some little bitty fangs between those two fangs. But no teeth on the sides again. And I think that's so that he can hold things in his mouth, but the joint there is so loose that he really can't hold much if it weighs anything at all. Um, the face, we've got the kitty nose. Yeah, yeah. No kitty whiskers, sadly. That would have been cool if they had put some sort of impression of whiskers on there, but they do have him seem like his whiskers are pushed back. That's okay, I guess. Cat eyes. He's got some good cat eyes and a big old nose. And it comes up here to his head. His ears are pulled back and scrunched down. And that's another thing. I'm like, oh, that's a missed opportunity. It would have been cool to have those ears up. Maybe have the ears on a little hinge. You move them back and forth. But having them folded down like this is all right too. And the fur texture on this isn't that bad. It is pretty cool. Well, when we get on over here to the rest of him, they even thought to include the fur texture on the part where the saddle sits, even though the saddle sits there most parts. And there's that spot between a cat's shoulder blades, which they absolutely love if you can scratch there. And we've got a seam right there at it. They did a decent job trying to hide this seam. This is a weird one. And it runs down the center, but then up here at the top it switches and goes off to the side a bit. Weird seam. We come down here to the legs, and we've got the same fur texturing going down all the way to the feet, where we've got individual paw texturing, and then on the bottom you get individual paw pad texturing. So you got the big pad and then the little toe pads, and that's pretty cool. They did texture the pads of the cat. And yeah, that's rest of this figure is textured like that. It's a continuous texture pattern that goes across the entire thing, and I do appreciate that they made the attempt to get this hair texture going on everywhere. And I'm really liking that these days with sculpt work. It's hard pressed for me to find bad things to say about figures because I grew up with such crappy figures, so. I'll admit, I look back on those toys that I grew up with in the 90s, and like most of those were pretty bad. They were cool. I have cool memories about them, but let's not lie to ourselves. And this figure right here, I'm sure it was textured as well. I wasn't really that into MotU, Masters of the Universe, but it was pretty cool. And I tell you guys, I heard a rumor today. And this is me finishing up the episode now. I heard a rumor today from the San Diego Comic Con that a playset was announced, and it's Eternia. And I'm thinking to myself, like, oh man, how much is this going to cost? And also, oh man, I really want Eternia, especially if Eternia is going to be like this size-wise. Let's get this. There it goes. Yeah, see, it's that easy to put his crazy freaking. Oh, but maybe it needs to be tighter. Do you need to be tighter, or are you good? Can it be tighter? Is there another loophole? Oh no. This thing's designed for one. Okay. Sorry about that. I found you, Bat. I was just looking for you. Let's make sure you got your chest piece. You do. Cool. Go back to writing the massive animal. All right. And for another comparison, we've got the Marvel Legends A.I.M Trooper. So you can see how a Marvel Legends figure looks in this. They look they look decent. But yeah, no. The Eternia playset. I don't know anything about scale. I haven't heard anybody talk about scale yet, but I'm keeping my ear to the ground about this, and yeah, I'll send out a tweet and let you guys know what I know whenever I find out its scale. Because even if it's Masters of the Universe 5-inch scale or 4.5-inch scale, whatever scale they have there, the smaller one, the one that this Panthor belongs to, even if it's that, it will be in scale for GI Joe Classified. Rough scale. It will be just a smidge off, but for the most part, it will be in scale. And I can't wait to really look into that and see exactly like how could you possibly turn Eternia into a badass Cobra base, or a GI Joe base, or just have GI Joe infiltrate Eternia. We got options, and I'll let you know more as I know more. And has live his tank update. There's it's past 16,000. I think it's at almost 17,000 backers now, and it's up. So looking forward to hearing more from them during San Diego Comic Con, which is going on right now. So if you want more news on that, make sure you tune in to San Diego Comic Con. I think I've talked to you enough for today. I hope you've enjoyed the show, and please tune in next Prime, where we will be going over, most likely, Twin Twist. Bye bye for now.